This is my wife and I back in 2015, the year we met. By this time, I had been riding motorcycles since I was in elementary school. While I was in Vietnam, I rode around in a scooter and I came to the realization, if I can ride a motorcycle here, I can ride it anywhere. So we did just that. Back in 2021, my wife and I did our first big motorcycle trip across Central America. With our Rebel 250, we rode from Arizona to where the road ends down in Panama. Fortunately, this did not satisfy our hunger for adventure motorcycling. It only made us more hungry. Over the years, our hunger grew more and more to the point of practically starving for a new adventure. We decided we wanted to ride through South America, visiting as many countries along the way. Our new journey began on April 2025. We had spent a few months planning the trip and purchased our 2023 Honda SCL 500. Now, here's the thing. Since we had already been to Central America, we just needed to get to Panama to ship our motorcycle across the Darien Gap and into Colombia. So we rode for 3 weeks straight, only stopping to sleep, to eat, and to work. This is a quick compilation of us getting to Panama from Texas. We arrived in Bogota, Colombia in June of 2025. We had to wait several days for our motorcycle to arrive by air. On one of those days that we were waiting, we decided to check out some church on top of a hill. Now, something unexpected happened on this day. Rather than tell you, I'll let what we filmed on this day do all the talking. Yeah, that's what they're saying, yeah. Oh shit.
What?
Oh my god.
I see it. Oh no. Oh man. No way.
Hold on, babe. Oh shit, babe. Babe, be careful.
No try.
Okay, hold on. I need to help you. Oh yeah. Huh? You ready to go?
Yeah, but
There's gonna be a long line of people though. Yeah. Careful, babe. Good job.
Camila, con su papá. Yeah.
Tired, babe? With our motorcycle finally arriving, there was no time to waste. We were itching to get back on the motorcycle. The literal next day, we started riding towards Cali. However, when the motorcycle was shipped, they actually broke a mirror. I unfortunately didn't notice until we started riding. So we had to make a quick pit stop, and the shop owners were incredibly friendly and helpful. Okay, perfecto, okay. Sí, muchas gracias, muchas gracias. From the very first moment we escaped the city, the views of the Andes Mountains were nothing short of breathtaking. And trust me, you're gonna get tired of hearing me say this over and over again.
You've gone cold. I miss home, the house you sold. I still bloom, but you're not you.
We finally made it to Cali, a city I've been wanting to see. We took a break from the road to catch up on work and give the motorcycle some much needed maintenance. These two kind shop owners helped us out and went above and beyond. They charged for just an oil change, but did a lot more. I'll admit, I came with Narcos-fueled expectations of wild, high-energy city with endless things to do. Instead, I found a city that was quiet and relaxed. After 3 days in Cali, we set off again, heading south through the temperate Andes, where endless shades of green rolled across the hills and mountains. Somewhere along the way, we stumbled upon a breathtaking church, a true hidden gem, tucked into the mountainsides. Here are a few moments we captured. Things started out rough here in Ecuador. It had been raining the night before we crossed the border. The morning was no different. If you aren't familiar with overland border crossings, let me just tell you this. It's usually disorganized. You have to figure out everything on your own, and sometimes can take hours. This one took about 3 hours. Our plan was to drive directly to Quito, Ecuador. I had a big project for work, so I needed stable internet, and major cities are always the safest bet. The ride to Quito was full of valleys and peaks. Here's a quick montage of the ride. We finally arrived in Quito, and there was no time to waste. We explored and enjoyed the city. Here are some videos of us in Quito. Alright everybody, this is it. I am officially eating guinea pig here in Ecuador. Oh shit, that was a little messy. Alright, here we go. It has a bit of a gamey taste to it, but it's really good. Yep, walking in the middle of the world. Right on the equator, like that. Oop, fell off a little bit. All right there, with their ice cream in the church, and then, nice. The next thing I really wanted to see in Ecuador was a famous volcano named Cotopaxi. So we went a few hours out of the way just to visit, and well, yeah, this was our view. This is what the volcano would have looked like if we came at the right time. We then stopped next to this cow and checked our map, searching for a better view of the volcano. We rode around the back roads, kind of like this, and it was honestly kind of a letdown, but that's life. Not everything can go your way. With Cotopaxi behind us, we made our way down south towards Peru. Once again, had mesmerizing views. We didn't spend a lot of time in Ecuador because once you leave the Andes Mountains, there just isn't a lot to see. So we went straight to the border to cross into Peru. After a grueling 5 hours at the border, we finally made it to Peru. We stopped to get some food, met these friendly kids while eating, and then we headed to our hotel for some rest. The next few days, we set out to ride through some of the Peruvian coast. It had been a while since we had seen the ocean, and I wasn't sure what to expect riding through the coast. Here are a few clips of what it looked like. at that. Just emptiness. Nothingness. Reminds me of like the US, like Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. I gotta be honest with you all, the coast got boring quick. One thing I would learn about myself in this trip is that I highly prefer scenic or challenging routes. Just staring at the empty desert for multiple days got old pretty fast. We had enough of the coast and decided to pivot to the Andes. Seeing mountains in the distance once again got us excited. This part of the trip would be one of my favorites in all of South America. The views were truly spectacular. Yes, I know I'm repeating myself, but it's true. Here are some of the clips of the week that we spent in the Andes. After taking these detours through the Andes, we had to make our way down back to the coast. I had once again a huge project for work, so I needed fast and reliable internet. Trujillo was the only city where I could get more than 3 megabytes a second of download speed. We tried our best to enjoy the city after working. We were able to see an archaeological site named Chan Chan and visited the center of the city. But we quickly got bored, and as soon as my work project was done, we continued down the coast of Peru. We got to see some more empty desert, huge sand dunes, a city surrounded by dunes, and even some amazing geoglyphs. One of the things I've always wanted to see at least once in my life was the famous Lake Titicaca. So we drove more through the coast and re-entered the Andes Mountains again in southern Peru. And here is how it went. Babe, they give us a lot. This was the last video I took before my final GoPro battery died. We don't have any videos of this unfortunately, but we were forced to drive through the night because of a 3-hour road delay. Driving through the night was absolutely brutal. It was 30 degrees Fahrenheit and we had to stop every 15 minutes just to warm up our hands. However, we made it to the lake that night and we couldn't wait to explore. The next day, we went on a little tour of the lake, and here are some clips of that. Now, there's something I have to be completely honest about. We went to great lengths to visit this lake and its floating islands. Sadly, this place was very much set up like a tourist trap. I have another video that goes in depth on this tour, so I won't repeat myself, but as always, we made the best of it and had a great time. A few days after working, we made our way to the border crossing in Bolivia. This border crossing was the worst, and still number 1 on our list. I have a video on this on my channel on what happened, but a quick summary was the traffic was an absolute shit show. We had to also purchase a visa to enter the country that required lots of documentation. On top of all this, there was one person who had a printer at the border and was charging us, and only us, $3 per paper copy. Him knowing we had to print about 40 pages of paper. Keep in mind, we are getting charged this when the average daily wage is about $20 US. Hard facts of life, people will take advantage of those in desperate situations. By the end, we were leaving the chaos at night. Now that we were in Bolivia, there was a lot of excitement in the air. We immediately got the feeling that Bolivia was truly a different place. There wasn't a lot of people or tourists on the highway. Many of the locals were dressed in traditional clothing. Bolivia felt raw. Our plan for today was to get to the capital, La Paz. We eventually had to cross the lake, and we heard about this ferry that we could use, and well, just check this out. It was without a doubt the most safest ferry I've ever taken.
¿Mande?
Hay una lancha varada en la arena. Los aguaceros que no veo llegar. Como duele vivir en mi playa sin mar. Hoy que no estás, un lucero faltó. Se me quiebra la voz. Las gaviotas.
We kept on riding through the country and stumbled upon people dancing in this small town.
No estás, me hizo falta una flor. Se me enfrió el corazón y las olas se van.
If you didn't know, Bolivia has been going through a gas crisis for a while now. Here's us passing by one of the many lines to a gas station. This went on for about 2 minutes. One of the most challenging things about traveling in Bolivia with a vehicle is the lack of access to gasoline. We would later learn that getting gas for our bike would continue to be challenging. There wasn't a single gas station in this entire country that didn't have ridiculous lines, and majority of the times wouldn't even sell it to us. This is not a joke. If you plan on overlanding here, you will without a doubt struggle to get gasoline and need to be very conservative with your gas. We made it to La Paz and we were met with the most busiest and crowded streets we have ever had to ride through. It was also beyond challenging as road conditions were consistently sketchy. We arrived at our Airbnb where we would be spending the next 5 days catching up on work.
En mi playa sin mar.
¿Tiene gasolina ahorita? No hay.
We were ready to leave La Paz and once again struggled to get gasoline. The next few days looked like this. One of the main reasons I wanted to come to Bolivia was to visit this, the world's largest salt flat. I have an entire video dedicated to this, so I'll just show you a very quick montage. We visited everything we wanted to see in Bolivia, and it was time to leave the chaos. We rode to the border crossing and crossed into Chile. The ride itself was more beautiful than I had ever imagined. We only stayed in Chile for about 5 days. It was cold, so it made riding a little miserable. We traveled mainly in the Atacama Desert area, and here's how it went. Just like that, we were at the border with Argentina. It's hard to tell by just watching these videos, but it was extremely cold. So much that my hands would go numb every 5 minutes of riding. We were no longer enjoying ourselves due to the cold, so we made a pivot and decided to make a straight line from this border to Paraguay. Argentina didn't exactly welcome us gently. We battled through a sandstorm, then wrestled the bike through endless wind-whipped roads. Once we left the Andes and reached sea level, the scenery flattened into pure monotony, just empty horizon for days. I'll show you some quick clips of what it looked like. I honestly found this to be the most boring part of our trip so far, and there's just nothing to see. It kind of reminded me of Texas. We made it to Paraguay, the country known as the Kansas of South America. Well, I didn't film a lot here, and quite honestly, there just wasn't a lot to film. I greatly enjoyed the country. It was peaceful, it was safe, it was predictable. The people of this country were beyond kind. I met and talked to a lot of interesting people here. I didn't film any of my interactions because I don't like pulling out my camera when I'm connecting to others, and quite honestly, it just feels weird. One very unexpected thing that happened while we were there was a world rally race. We spent one of the days in the Paraguayan backroads searching for a rally race so we can spectate. We finally found it with the help of a spectator. When we arrived, the locals welcomed us into their tent and talked to us the entire time while we enjoyed the rally. Driving the rest of Paraguay was a spectacle. Rally cars would be passing us on the roads as they make their way to their races. We re-entered Argentina with the purpose of exploring Buenos Aires. The entire ride from Paraguay to Buenos Aires was rainy. It wasn't like warm tropical rain like what we were usually used to. It was cold and wet. We arrived in Buenos Aires in 2 days after about 15 hours of riding. We planned to hang out in the city for a week and explore as much as possible. But we just didn't find anything to do. I have videos of us there, but there's like nothing worth sharing. It's just us eating food, working, and walking around. With only 2 weeks left in the trip, and after spending a week in Buenos Aires, my wife and I learned something about ourselves. We really don't enjoy large cities. Unless there's something truly unique, we end up getting bored very quickly. So we made a quick pivot and decided to take a last big ride to Santiago, Chile, and back. So I knew this was gonna happen, but the first 4 days of riding to Santiago was extremely boring and long. It was literally just 20 hours of this. Hey everybody, today we are going from Mendoza, Argentina to Santiago, Chile. Our first stop is route number 13. It's a dirt road that's going to go through the Andes. If you watch YouTube videos about this road, there's mixed reviews. saying it's complex. It's also a bit hard to navigate, but it's absolutely beautiful. So we're going to see how it goes. And then hopefully we make it all the way down to Santiago, Chile with some sunlight and some time to spare. But let's see how today goes. See you on the road.
Through the fields of our paths, feelings part our ways, keeping us close but estranged now. Dreams
beautiful.
holding us closer, meadows of our youth, 107 days, but recalling it backwards. Our dreams holding us closer. Ooh, we can see so clear. Ooh, we can see so clear.
I was a little tired. Tired day.
And you are shades of grey, living day to day. Even when we're free, it's true. The difference is the same. The colors always change, but the song is the same now. In June, lifting us higher. We can see so clear. Ooh, we can see so clear. Ooh, we can see so clear. Ooh, we can see so clear.
We finally made it to Santiago, Chile. We stayed for a few days to work and explore, and once again, we just didn't find anything worth sharing in this city. Although we had a good time, nothing beats traveling with our motorcycle, and with that, we were off again, this time going to our final country, Montevideo, Uruguay. On the 20+ hour boring ride to Montevideo, we had a lot of time to think. And I've come to realize that my wife and I will always be adventurous. When we are forced into the ordinary, we're quick to rebel and pursue experiences that take us out of our comfort zone. It's a way of life for us, and I don't see it ending anytime soon. But let me tell you, these long, boring routes really drain us. We eventually made it to the city of Montevideo and prepared everything to leave our motorcycle here for our future trip through Patagonia. I gave this big city another chance. We really tried. We visited the best restaurants, walked around the entire city, and even tried visiting some of the must-see sites. However, it truly cemented the notion that we no longer feel any excitement or novelty when visiting a new city. With nothing left to do, we cut our trip shorter than expected and headed home. This trip has been in my bucket list since I was 13. And I am beyond grateful that I got to do this. The fact that I got to do this with my beautiful and adventurous wife only makes me more grateful. I can say this with certainty, my 13-year-old self would be proud.
All being our past, well,